Hey there, my curious friends, and welcome back to the Society of Curious Creatures. I'm your host, Chantel, and this is where we explore the most chilling tales from the depths of the internet. Now, today we are delving into a terrifying story. It's titled Jeff the Killer, so a lot of you may have already heard about this. This is just one version, so feel free to leave a different one in the comments box below, okay? So it's time to turn off the lights, get comfortable, and prepare to be spooked. Now, our story begins with a seemingly ordinary teenager named Jeff. And Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood, and they were hoping that this would be like their fresh start, like a life reset, if you will. But little did they know that their lives were about to take this very dark and twisted turn. Now, you see, Jeff was a typical high school student, known for his friendly demeanor and his love for video games, like all kind of, teenagers. Now, his family had just moved to this new neighborhood, a quiet suburb with, the tree-lined streets, the Stepford wives, and the friendly neighbors, Hoping for this fresh start, the father had just got a new job, there was more money, this was supposed to be like a positive change, a chance to leave behind the struggles of their old life and embrace these new opportunities. Now, Jeff's parents were, optimistic. They were believing that this new environment would be like a perfect fit for their family. And they spent their weekends unpacking boxes, decorating their new home, putting their own little touches on it, and getting to know the neighbors. Now, Jeff, on the other hand, was a bit more reserved. He missed his friends and his school. And despite his parents' encouragement, he found it hard to adjust to his new surroundings. Now, as the days passed, Jeff began to notice some strange occurrences around their new home. First, it was just like small things that, we kind of say, oh, is that real? Like, it's probably just in my mind. But, they were some things like objects moving on their own, odd noises in the middle of the night, and a feeling of being watched by a creepy ass ghost that doesn't have personal boundaries. You know how it goes. And these kind of issues were kind of, making him a little uncomfortable, but he kind of brushed it off, thinking it was probably in his imagination. He was still kind of upset about the move, but the unsettling events just became more frequent and harder to ignore, almost like the creepy-ass ghost was saying, I'm here, so don't pretend like you can't see me. Now, one evening while Jeff was in his room playing a video game, he heard a faint whisper coming from the hallway. The creepy whisper that you pretend you didn't hear, and then it gets louder, so you have to go check it out, okay? And shaking his head, like he dismissed it, because it's not the first time he heard something like that. He just said it's wind, like he, comforted himself with that thought. However, the next night, the whispering returned, louder and more distinct, and this time it sounded like a voice actually calling his name, and a little bit more of a regular call than a whisper. Now, Jeff's curiosity, which I don't have, got the better of him, and he decided to investigate. He didn't even get his parents. He's very brave. He tiptoed down the hallway, his heart pounding in his chest, and as he reached the end of the corridor, he saw a shadowy figure standing by the window. And somehow he didn't scream. Okay, I don't know what that says about Jeff, but, just to keep that in mind. And the figure turned slowly, revealing a face twisted in a sinister grin. And Jeff's blood ran cold as he realized their new home held these dark secrets. And his family's fresh start was about to take a dark turn, right? But still, he pushed forward, locking away his fear. Yeah, he locked it away. I didn't even know that was possible. I would be screaming. Now, Jeff and his brother Lou were over the moon about their new home. The house was spacious, the neighborhood seemed friendly, and the local park was the biggest playground they had ever seen. So Jeff wasn't going to put a damper on this. He was just going to keep pushing forward. Jeff was like a thug, okay? He was a gangster. And he said, you know what? I know it's creepy, but everybody else seems okay, so I'm fine with it. And honestly, it was like a dream come true, this new environment. But on the very first day of school, they encountered a group of bullies who seemed to have a radar, like for new kids, like for fresh meat, like, in prison. And these bullies were the kind of kids who probably pulled the wings off of flies for fun. Psychopaths. And Jeff, being a protective older brother, decided to stand up to them. Now, what followed was a fight that could only be described as brutal. Think of it as a scene straight out of like an action movie where a gangster just beats the living daylights out of a regular person, okay? But minus the cool background music, and it isn't in a school with other children probably screaming for help, but it's kind of like that. And the fight flipped a switch inside of Jeff, okay? Him getting beat up like that, it just changed, it touched something inside of him, probably the part that could lock away fear, and it changed him. And this change was not like the puberty is weird kind of way. Jeff became more withdrawn, his behavior increasingly erratic, and he would spend hours just staring at walls, lost in thought that no one could understand, like a psychopath. I don't know if it's catching. I don't know if you can catch psychopath, but I'm just saying, staring at walls with a blank face is not a good sign. Now, his parents were worried, of course. I mean, they tried everything from heartfelt talks to, bribing him with his favorite video games and food, but nothing seemed to work. And they chalked it up to the stress of moving and adjusting to a new school because it was a new environment with new people. Maybe he was just very sad, or maybe he was slightly depressed and he didn't know how to process that. Now, little did they know that they were in for a horror show. Like, that this was finna get Stephen King novel worthy. So Jeff's evolution was gradual but unmistakable. He started to kind of avoid his friends. His laughter became very rare, and his eyes held this distant, haunted look. Like I just got out of prison. That's that kind of look. Yeah, I just saw some real stuff. Now, his parents couldn't have imagined the horrors that were to come, but they were about to find out that sometimes the monsters under the bed are real. Now, one night, Jeff's mother heard a strange noise coming from the bathroom. And when she opened the door, like a mother should, to figure out what the hell Jeff was doing, Jeff was standing in front of the mirror, his face covered in blood. He had carved a permanent smile into his cheeks and burned off the eyelids so he could never sleep. And he turned to his mother and said, "You go to sleep." Now, Jeff's transformation was complete. He had become a monster, driven by an insatiable urge to kill. And he started with his own family, leaving a trail of blood and terror in his wake. It was like this monster from that beating had just awoken in him, hungry and ready to just devour anything in its way. And that is how the legend of Jeff the Killer spread. It was faster than a cat video on the internet, whispers of eerie presence circulating around the town, each story worse than the last. People claimed to see his ghostly figure lurking in the shadows, his pale face, haunting smile, a terrifying reminder of his gruesome deeds. It was as if he had a season pass to the nightmares of the town's residents. "Go to sleep" became his chilling catchphrase, whispered in the dead of night to his unsuspecting victims. And it was the kind of phrase that can make even the bravest soul sleep with the lights on. Keep all the lights on. I need to see everything. Okay? Parents used his name to scare their children into behaving, and teenagers dared each other to venture into the dark corners where Jeff was rumored to appear. I'm sorry, I should have said dumbass teenagers dared each other to venture into the dark corners where Jeff was rumored to appear. And the sightings were always the same. A fleeting glimpse of a figure with unnaturally white skin and a smile that could give the Cheshire Cat, the one from Alice in Wonderland, a run for his money, okay? Some said they saw him in their mirrors. Now, just for a split second, it was creepy as hell, but he would vanish into thin air when they turned to look at him. Others swore they heard his voice, a soft, sinister whisper that sent shivers down their spines. Now, despite the fear he instilled, there was almost morbid curiosity about Jeff the Killer. Urban legend enthusiasts and thrill seekers flocked to the places where he supposedly was seen, hoping for a brush with the supernatural. They would gather around campfires sharing stories of Jeff's latest appearances, each tale more elaborate and detailed than the last, which leads me to believe they were lying, okay? Because when you see something horrible, and I know this from personal experience, you don't want to talk about it. You want to hide it. It feels like talking about it makes it real. So when that was coming up, I thought, they were lying. Now, but for those that truly believed Jeff was no mere legend, he was a living nightmare, a specter that haunted their every waking moment. His presence was a constant reminder that sometimes things that go bump in the night were all too real. And sometimes monsters were created by other monsters. And that's just how it goes. Hurt people hurt people. Now, is Jeff the Killer a creepy story, or is it some truth behind this legend? Some say he's still out there, waiting for his next victim. So if you hear a whisper in the dark telling you to go to sleep, you might want to stay awake, because it's probably Jeff trying to get into those nightmares, okay? Now, what do you think? Is Jeff the Killer real, or just a figment of our darkest imaginations? I mean, there's definitely a lesson in this story. Like a nice Hans Christian lesson, don't bully. You don't know what will happen to the person. But let me know in the comments below if you have a different version of this. Again, urban legends are different. Like, they come up, they're created, and they change and morph with every new storyteller, basically. So if you enjoyed this spine-tingling tale, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more creepy content. Until next time, sleep tight if you can. Bye.